In 2012, he opened his outdoor retail store and guiding company. His business's mission was to connect the community of Chilliwack to the mountains and build in its clients a passion for the world that surrounds them. In 2014, he successfully ran for Chilliwack City Council, where he served a 4-year term in office, both at the city and the Fraser Valley Regional District. He was also elected to the board of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, where he represented BC in that capacity for 2 terms. Recently, he co-founded the Fraser Valley Climbing Society and a new guiding venture, Ascent Fraser Valley Guides and Mountain School. My name is Louis De Jaeger, and today I'm joined by Sam Waddington of Waddington's Outdoor in Chilliwack, and this is Point of View. Sam, how are you?
Yeah, good to be here, Louis.
Good to see you.
Yeah, absolutely. Things are well. Can't complain. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're married, you're not married, you're single, you're,
Yeah, life's marching along. I'm engaged, wedding this summer, so
Nice.
COVID restrictions pending, but yeah, we're excited for that next chapter of life.
Perfect. Good.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I always remember you as the guy sitting outside with the table and the coffee, and you always had the coffee going. And I remember then it was the bridge. We were talking about what was going to happen with the old bridge and how that was going to affect. And I was concerned, of course, because I wasn't hearing anything from Sawali, how that was going to happen, how it was going to affect your business. How do you think now, years later, how did it all turn out?
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about the coffee table, and I think that's sort of a symbol for how I engaged in my early days in politics, right? I came out of the gate thinking, how do I meet people where they are? How do I see this community in a real way and make those connections that help to inform me? Because I came believing that some of the perspectives that I had were underrepresented in elected office, at least in our community, right? Rather than I would like to be an elected official, it's I'd like some of the things that I care about to be shown out there on that stage. And that to me is the essential component to politics, is that passion that individuals bring to represent an underrepresented viewpoint. And so you mentioned the bridge. I think we had some perspectives on what that could be as a gateway, and very specifically, I'm proud of that project. We were gonna do some like flat girder concrete. It's a beautiful piece of art in our community that forms a gateway to our mountain, river, valley. And I think all communities who were a part of that and the connections that were able to be made in very real ways with the public art at the roundabout, those are meaningful connections that, amongst many things, those are some of the things that as a team, as a council, we accomplished during that term that I'm proud of today. Yeah.
Good. Much needed infrastructure for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you were the young face, right?
Yeah.
It's something that we were missing. What I was seeing, I've been here since 1997, and you were something different, and I think coming here as a gay man with my partner as well, it was like, how are you going to be accepted?
Yeah.
So for me, I wanted to see that, like an example of young people interested in politics. And do you feel you played that role quite well?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I was young, so I guess there's that, and I played that role just by the nature of the reality of the age that I was entering office. But I acknowledge today, and I see so clearly, I think we all do, looking back on our lives in previous chapters, those cringeworthy moments where you think, oh, Sam, you did the thing that people would have expected of a young person in office. You made some of those mistakes. You fell into some of those pitfalls. And I think that one of the things that I did successfully as a young person, what we look to for young people, is those fresh ideas, that passion, that some of that different vision. And I'm proud of a lot of those things that I think I contributed to the council team. But I also made some of those mistakes. I entered with I got elected on some ideas, and I got elected with quite a high vote count. And I think that gave me a sense of outsized self-importance in terms of saying, like, the ideas that I'm carrying forward need to be championed at this crazy passionate level. And part of that, Louis, is looking back now saying, I polarized the team a little bit early on, right? And I as a young person entering office, I did make some of those classic mistakes that young people make.
Yeah, Sam, you were a champion, though. Like to a lot of us, you really were. You were bringing forward ideas that nobody else was thinking about. I mean, you were the one who championed the trails and you put us on the map. You were the face, not just only in Chilliwack, but also on the news with CBC. You were able to really break ground and give us some elevation as far as, wow, well, this is such a good place to live. I think a lot of us knew that. We were a bit guarded in maybe what you were doing. We weren't quite getting it. If there was more younger people or if there was more diversity on that whole council, do you think more would have gotten done on the 4 years that you were in?
Yeah, I believe that a diversity of perspectives is critical to number one, reflecting a diverse community, which we have. But it isn't always on display, and I think that a lot of people who had these opinions, what I came to realize is I would put out an opinion that to the council table was new, and then the number of echoes from the community saying, "Finally, yes, like we've been waiting for this." These aren't new ideas. I was reflecting, I think, this latent sense of pride and passion, and there's an active outdoor community, there's an active, diverse community. There are people who finally saw some of their priorities being reflected, and very proud of that. And I think we need more of that. So one of the things that I became very passionate about, especially later in my elected term, was to say, what I'm doing here can't be a flash in the pan. How do we encourage more diversity? How do we build it systemically into what we're doing as a city? How do we, in our electoral process, make it more manageable for people to get into politics who are not the classic candidate, right? Yeah. And when you have a non-classic candidate, you get some outside ideas. And I'm not saying that every fruity idea that I came up with or anyone else should be implemented carte blanche, but that flavor that gets added to the conversation, that difference of opinion always leads to better outcomes. And I think that one thing I learned in my roles, for instance, at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, was I got a little insight into other councils. Into other cities and how they do things. And the most diverse cities with some outside and contrarian voices, in my opinion, ended up, sometimes in a very painful process, but ended up at the best civic outcomes for the citizens living in those communities because there was robust debate. And it wasn't just an echo chamber of people saying, yeah, Louis, that's a great idea. Like everyone had always just back thumped each other, right? And so I think that diversity matters. Yeah,
for sure. We're just going to take a quick break for a second, and then let's come back and let's talk a little bit about where we are now.
Absolutely.
We'll be right back. Welcome back. I'm here with Sam Waddington of Waddington Outdoors. Sam, where do you think we are now in politics? Do you think we've done anything to move forward? Like what I'm seeing, we have one female that's sitting on council. We have one female that's sitting on SEPCO. Like, what do we need to be doing more to attract more diversity and to change things up? If we can't even get a male-female ratio right, how do we expect to attract anyone else?
Yeah. It's a challenge. And, I acknowledge this, that I came into politics being maybe a young voice, and so in that way diverse, but I'm also a white man, and so in that way not diverse at all. But difference of opinion matters, but difference of life perspective. And so you mentioned, the female-male ratio. I think that there's a lot of work that could be done systemically within the ways that we compensate counselors, within the ways that we make people feel included and welcome within the system. But my honest belief is that that's not going to change until there's a more diverse grouping of people who are actually elected. And so that's a bit of a conundrum, right? But the thing I think that the community needs to see is rather than we only have one person on council, that's a barrier, or who's a woman, that's a barrier because I'm a woman and I don't feel welcome there. That's an opportunity. I think there's a lot of folks, myself included, as a voter, as a colleague on a council, I would have loved to have seen more diverse colleagues. Yeah. So I would have been the first to support more diversity in the candidates running. And I think that we need a group of people who say, I'm not alone in my beliefs. I'm going to step forward and I'm going to represent the things I think are needing to be represented.
So how do we get them elected, though? Like,
Yeah.
are we going to form like a rainbow slate, or, you know,
Sure.
what's it going to
Yeah.
take to get the votes out there?
Yeah.
So we get at least 2 or 3 people in there that represent some sort of diversity.
Yeah, so I mean, one of the things I think that we really need to do is we need to look at mentorship. So I'm putting this on our elected council currently and on myself as a past elected to encourage those people. We know who those, civic champions are, those engaged persons, and they've already proven themselves in the community as being passionate advocates. They need a tap on the shoulder. They need encouragement from folks like myself and yourself and business leaders and community leaders of any kind, from their friends and family, to say, you know what, so-and-so, you've got a great perspective. We'd love to see you there. And then to back that, right? So that's on us.
Yeah.
And I think, yes, formal organizations helping to push and promote diversity, absolutely. But it can be more subtle than that. If, you're sitting there at home thinking, how do I be a part of this? Encourage those people in your lives who have that diverse perspective, or who you always go to say, I need to check myself on this. Who do I go to?
Yeah.
That person, those are the people we want in elected office.
Let's do predictions. Okay. Who's out there that's going to run for council?
Oh, there's a bunch of whisperings in the wind, I think.
Come on, we can throw it on the table.
Okay.
Let's
some
do the
names.
prediction.
You started off. You kick
I'll
a name
say
out
Amber
there.
from the Bookman.
So Amber Price. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Amber is certainly a candidate. I'm going to pick DJ Pohl.
Okay.
She's run previously. My guess is that she's going to run for a different office, for a
Perfect.
local office this time. That's my prediction.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's do mayor. What are we going to have? Is there going to be a race there, or is it going to be everyone behind one?
I'm predicting that there's going to be a mayoral race.
Yeah.
And I encourage that, saying that even if I were mayor today, I would encourage that there's a mayoral race. It adds to the scrutiny. It adds to the accountability in the community, in a democracy. So my guess is that we're going to have at least a couple people from the outside. I'm not predicting, this is my prediction, any notable candidates, as in anyone with a super high civic profile running against the incumbent mayor, Ken Popoff. I am guessing that there's going to be somebody in council doing so.
So Ken's going to run again, you think? Okay. How about Jason? Is he going to run for mayor? He's been groomed for years and years. A lot of people have been waiting. Is this year the year?
Well, so I don't think it's any secret. I think that, and I actually think that Ken said this in multiple interviews, that he wanted his chance at the big chair, as he's called it. He wanted to be the mayor for many reasons. I think he had some things he wanted to accomplish. I think he also wanted to do it as well for himself. And I think that as he's gotten into that office, he's enjoyed it. And I think he's realized that he can make some differences in the things that matter to him. I'm thinking he's going to stick around. He did say he was one and done. I don't think he will be. And my guess is that there's candidates like Jason who don't want to wait around for their turn either. And I encourage that, because it should never be you're next, I'm first, he's third,
You gotta work
she's
for
third. If we have that kind of tapping system, we don't have a good democracy. We need people running for office.
And how about Sam? Where does Sam fit into this political sphere of Chilliwack? Are we going to see you? It can be at any level, but are we going to see a return?
You know what? I don't think that I'm done in politics, but I can say this. I'm done in this election. I'm not running. So I can sit here and have this conversation with you, Louis, as a true outsider, and watch it. And I'm enjoying watching it from the sidelines. But there's reasons for that. Part of that is it has been 4 years since a really difficult campaign for many reasons. A lot of which to do with decisions that I made and and mistakes that I made. And I've spent the last 4 years, and I have more time in this world yet to start changing things in my own life to make myself a better candidate to be a leader again someday in this community. And I've gone back to school. I'm doing a master's program right now in leadership. I realize that there's a lot that I yet need to learn, but in this election, I'm gonna sit it out
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens down the road.
Yeah, Sam, restorative justice is something in the Indigenous governance process that we practice. And, having a good dispute resolution, being involved in any politics, whether it be municipal, federal, I think is a healthy thing and it's a good thing. And, I think there's a process that should be in place at this level where it doesn't explode, where something small doesn't get out of hand.
Yeah.
And I honestly do say that I watched everything that happened to you and I was really disappointed. And I thought there was a lot of room that we could have learned from our First Nations cousins, that restorative justice is the way to go, because we want to create an atmosphere where young people are attracted to politics and they're not saying that, every move, every mistake I make is going to cost me years. And the mistake that you made, and you've admitted that, has been dear. And it goes on for years. This isn't just, one little thing. This affects your life and your business and your financial situation. Yeah. Did you want to go into any of that, or do you want to just...
Well, I think it's, and I appreciate that, Louis. I think it's important to acknowledge what was and what is, and to look at this, because whether I like that or not, there are young people and there are candidates, or maybe not young, but in this community saying, "Oh, what actually happened there, and is that going to happen to me if I go down this road?" Right. So when I break down sort of what happened, I made some mistakes, and in many ways they were small. They weren't trivial. I'm not trivializing them, but they were things that got absolutely inflated to the place where I had senior RCMP, Canada's version of the FBI, our senior crimes unit, serious crimes unit at the RCMP, investigating me, spending taxpayer dollars doing that. Yeah. Internal city audits, external auditors. We had lawsuits in the courts. We went to the Supreme Court of BC. It was before the courts. It was this whole process. I hired lawyers. The city hired lawyers. And in the end, this whole thing that had started small, that grew big, went back to being small. And we all walked away having learned something and realized that somewhere in the middle, this thing got away on everyone. It became remarkably expensive for the taxpayers, probably hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Yeah. And I think that's something we can take and improve our political system, whatever that may be, because governance is like a living thing. Yeah. It can change. Bylaws can change. Yeah. I mean, still we're sitting at... I think we started with 8. We were at 8 council members, and then there was a bylaw that changed that to 6 during John Jansen's time, I believe, and that hasn't changed yet. So, we should be doing more, and we should be always trying to reinvent and make it better as we go to make room for diversity, to make room for better procedures, and just really, in the end, save taxpayers money and a lot of needless frustration.
Yeah. And so I think, my takeaways would be young people going into office need to come in there with humility, come with your passion, come with your vision, but the team aspect is so important. And to those in elected office, when adversaries and people come in who maybe have a difference of opinion than you've got a choice to make. Yeah. You can treat them as an adversary, and I can guarantee you they will become an adversary if you treat them that way. Or you can be a mentor. And I think we need better mentorship, because you ask how to increase diversity. If we want diversity, having those elected officials and past elected officials, and I put myself in that camp, taking young, interested, passionate people under their wing and saying, please learn from some of the mistakes I made. Yeah. Because the city deserves your best. We need the best that everyone has to offer, pushing our community forward. And we're not going to do that if each of us continues to make the same mistakes as our predecessors. So I hope people learn from the mistakes I made, but I hope that they're not deterred by the impact of the mistakes and what they had on me and on the city, because there's a lot of room for young, interested, diverse candidates from all aspects. And I hope that the table has been set, that we've all learned something, and that it'll be better in the future.
Those are great words, Sam. We're going to end it there. And, it's, I always say never, right? Never say never. But, we have to keep the hope into politics, and we have to make sure that young people get out and vote. Yeah. Number one, but not just that, but they have to have the will and the courage to run. But we need to support them as well. So we're looking forward to a great campaign this fall. And, you know, hopefully we're going to have a couple more people on as well. And we're going to have another point of view.
Yeah,
So thanks very much. Thanks a lot, Sam.
Thanks for having me, Louis.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Chimiquich. Thanks, everyone.